everyone. Today I'm going to be going over some more of the books which I have read for middle grade on March 2024, and also today is the 24th of March, but I will not be posting this video up immediately on its day of filming. So anyway, these 5 books fit the prompt, read a book with an animal on the cover. I just couldn't resist it. The librarian who was working the children's room at the library, I got all my middle grade March books from. She was very, very helpful in helping me find them. I was kind of embarrassingly looking for Helen Peters, I believe the author's name. She has a whole series about animal rescue and stuff, but they didn't have any actually at the library. But we were looking for 2 similar series she already knew about, like pets and animal rescue and stuff. And she said oh, you can always do one of these. It sounds like, a great readathon. And obviously I did. This was really, really cute. Magic Animal Friends. This is also in the same series. They have a whole sub-series within this series, for example, the Magic Ponies, and they also have a whole series about dogs and cats and bunnies and animal friends in general. And so this is Millie Picklesnout's Wild Ride. This is the same girl characters are in this series, and they just have all these cute little fun adventures. They go through a magical tree, and time stands still, of course, magically when they're in there, and they're helping the magical animals, defeat the evil witch Griselda and her, underlings, doing the evil grunt work for her. And this, I should also mention, this is British. I immediately recognized a lot of, in addition to, of course, the spellings, I recognized a lot of the, terminology, slang words that are British. For example, saying someone is poorly instead of sick, and just, referring to a helter-skelter ride at the fun fair, and just things like that. So obviously, if kids don't know what that means, that's a great opportunity to just look it up online or in the dictionary. Just ask the parents or figure out from context. I never understand people who act oh no, kids won't like a book if they can't understand every single word. That's what context clues mean. And even if you don't know what every single word literally means, you can still enjoy the story. And so anyway, Lily and Jess can't wait for the Friendship Forest Fun Fair on the magical Sapphire Isle. But the lake around it has turned wild and dangerous. Could this be the work of wicked witch Griselda? Tiny piglet Millie Picklesnout must help the girls make the waters safe again for everyone. And this was a really, really sweet book. And this also was a really good book. I loved, I love ponies and horses and stuff. And I found out from reading the synopses of the other books in this series, Comet, the magic horse or pony, he's the main animal character in all of these books. He's just helping different children with things, and I particularly related to the main character, the main human character, Gina, because she'd had a horrible horse riding accident, and she was just feeling too not confident in herself, a bit afraid to get back on the horse again. I fell off of a horse on September 30th, 2001. I impressed everyone, all my friends on the ride with the outdoor group, by getting back on the horse soon after and finishing the ride. I wasn't wearing a helmet, so I guess it probably could have been a whole lot worse, but I, definitely understand. I've, couldn't walk for 11 months after I was run over by a car because, a leg injury. And so ever since then, I've really deeply related to characters in, books and movies who have had some kind of leg injury in their past, and they're just afraid, even when there's nothing physically wrong. Oh, you can walk again, you don't need crutches or a wheelchair, you can get out of bed now. And they're just, something in their mind is telling them, no, I'm terrified, I can't walk, I really can't do it. It just makes me really emotional, reading and seeing those kinds of stories. So this is a synopsis. Comet is a magic pony who uses his spells wherever they are needed most. After a dangerous fall, Gina is afraid to get back on a horse. Can Comet help her rediscover her love of riding? And these two I should mention, and the other ones, which I will shortly bring up, they're meant for a younger middle grade audience. So I guess age in the single digits. They're not more the upper mature middle grade for ages 12, 13 that a lot of the other books in my pile of possibilities I got were intended for. And this is so cute. Another series, Holly Webb is the author of all of these books. The Kitten Nobody Wanted. All these, so many of these titles in this series, just pull it. Let me pull, oh, this doesn't have a complete list of titles. There were a much longer list. I think it's in the puppy, no one, the sad puppy, that have all a greater list. For example, The Abandoned Puppy, Buttons the Runaway Puppy, The Frightened Kitten, The Kitten Nobody Wanted, Harry the Homeless Puppy, Lost in the Snow, Leo All Alone, The Secret Puppy, Sky the unwanted kitten, Misty the abandoned kitten, the scruffy puppy, the missing kitten, the secret kitten, the lost puppy, alone in the night, lost in the storm, the homeless kitten, a home for Sandy. So you get the idea. And this was the first one of the three Pet Rescue Adventures books, which I read. The Sad Puppy by Holly Webb. Unfortunately, they covered it up, but obviously I know now because I read the book. So Amelia has only had her puppy, Monty, for a few months, and then her grandpa gets sick and has to spend time in the hospital. He desperately needs someone to take care of his beloved dachshund, Daisy, so Mom and Dad agree to give her a home. But when Daisy arrives, she is unhappy and scared. Meanwhile, Monty doesn't understand why Amelia is making such a big deal over the new arrival. Doesn't Amelia love him anymore? And I thought this did a really great job for the intended age range of depicting, animals have feelings and emotions too, and also children can relate to this. For example, like Monty's feelings about, oh, am I being replaced? Doesn't Amelia love me anymore? They really ring true when a younger sibling frequently joins the house. The child feels like, why aren't my parents paying attention to me anymore? What did this stupid baby do to get all the automatic guaranteed attention? And sometimes the children run away from home like Monty does because they just feel like, why isn't anyone loving me anymore? And also I could relate to the Amelia's feelings about her grandfather being sick. Like when it was just really, really emotionally difficult on me when my first grandpap passed away in August 2005, for a very, very long time after that. And even now, although I'm a little much better at controlling my emotions, it just really emotionally wrecked me reading about grandparents, particularly grandfathers, being sick and dying. Well, thankfully he doesn't die in this book. He just goes to live in a nursing home afterwards. And so I thought this was I really enjoyed this. And I thought it was when Monty runs away to the park near the house, he's trying to play with a little boy. He's barking at him, and the woman's like, how dare you torture my precious snowflake? And she's hitting him with a teddy bear. Geez, lady, you sound like a typical HOA, you know what? Oh no, everything isn't going according to the way I want. Oh no, my precious little snowflake. That was a really well drawn evil character. Misty the abandoned kitten, and it's a tuxedo. I love tuxedos. So Amelia has, of course, they covered it up, but I know what it says because I read the book. Amelia has always wanted a kitten, but her mom and dad think she is too young to have a pet of her own. So she is thrilled when she sees a tiny kitten roaming around her yard one misty morning. The kitten is very thin and doesn't have a collar, so Amy assumes that the kitten, whom she has named Misty, doesn't have a home. Misty is shy at first, but gradually she begins to trust Amy, who feeds her and gives her the attention she so desperately wants. But how long can Amy keep Misty a secret from her parents? And this also had a really good lesson for the intended, audience. Pet responsibility. It doesn't magically come, oh, now you're 10 or whatever age her parents might have decided was the gatekeeping or whatever age. Oh, now you're old enough for the pet. It's you gradually develop it over time, and some children aren't ready for a pet at the arbitrary age, just as others are ready way before. So it's not oh wow, now you're 10, you're 12, or you're 15 or whatever, now you can get a kitten. And but you had no prior experience with taking care of it, so you're not very good. Sometimes it is best to start them a little bit younger than you might think, as long as they have supervision and they're doing lots of homework, instead of dealing with pets as so-called starter animals. In this kitten, Misty, is named Jet by her first family, but she's terrified of the existing adult cat Charlie, who's always attacking her and stealing her food, just things like that. And I also had it had a good message for children, because the two Jet / Misty belongs to an old woman who's living by her adult daughter Sarah and her two children, Mandy and Danny, and the kids are grabbing the kid. Oh, I want you to put I want to put clothes on you and treat you like a living toy. And of course Misty / Jet scratches Mandy, and the mother is oh, bad kitten, how dare you scratch my little snowflake. But guess what? That's what animals do when they feel afraid and threatened. You can't just treat them like living toys. It just makes me so mad to see videos of parents laughingly, lovingly filming their little snowflakes, just grab, yank, throw, particularly the little ones like hamsters and gerbils, rabbits, guinea pigs, baby puppies and kittens. That's not how you treat any living animal. That's just so jacked in the head. And Amy gets a treehouse for her birthday, and she spends lots of time in it, particularly with her friend Lily. And that Misty starts coming around to the treehouse, and the girls think it's awesome. They buy secret food for her, and Misty starts spending the night there and just like hanging out together lots of times. And then her parents realize what's going on, and oh, she really belongs to someone else. And of course there's a happy ending, and this is the kitten nobody wanted, again covered up. But so when Mia loses her existing cat Sandy, she can't ever like see herself having a cat again. Sandy was the best cat in the world, and Mia never wants to forget him. Mia's best friend, Emily, is thrilled when her cat, Snowball, has kittens. Emily desperately wants Mia to see the kittens, but for a long time, Mia can't bring herself to. Mia finally visits and falls in love with a small, shy kitten whom she names Whiskers. Everyone can see that Mia and Whiskers are perfect for each other, but is Mia ready to give him a home? And I also thought this did a really good job for the intended age range of showing like grief doesn't arbitrarily stop, and you can also grieve very powerfully for an animal instead of just humans. And it's not, you can't just say, oh, it's been 2 months or a year, time to get over. Like, why are you still like sobbing and like feeling sad about your cat or your grandparent or whoever dying? It's been long enough, like, and you get over it gradually in stages. But sometimes you just have to like face the music. I don't know if that's the right term for it, and get a new cat, open, or a new pet, whatever, open your heart to love and stop feeling like, oh, I could never betray that first cat's memory. And I thought this did a really good job in showing how Mia was like, gradually warming up to Whiskers and like not wanting to admit, oh, she really loves him, but like Whiskers is getting really attached to her too, and trying to say, look, I chose my human, you're my human. I'm trying to, make you realize we're meant to be. And of course, there's always a happy ending in these books. And this is the book you feel you missed out on the first time around. But like judging from what I've like my opinions of it, I didn't really miss much. Deenie by Judy Blume. This is about a 13-year-old girl in 7th grade who gets a huge brace for her scoliosis, and it was published in 1973, so it's definitely of its time. I don't really know much of anything about scoliosis, but I was reading some Goodreads reviews, and one person said it's called a Milwaukee brace in the book, but the description actually isn't a Milwaukee brace. It was possibly like a Boston or a Wilmington brace or some other kind of brace, but definitely the description doesn't fit what a Milwaukee brace actually is. But I guess I'll leave that up to the medical experts who know about scoliosis. And I just felt like the writing seems kind of flat. I haven't read a Judy Blume book in ages. The last one I read was Forever in 2011. I really hated that book. So overrated, although I do appreciate it was very important when it first came out in 1975. But I do remember liking all of her other books I read when I was a preteen, the intended audience, like particularly the Super Fudge, the Fudge series. So I don't know if this is because like her books have genuinely dated, or maybe she just wrote them with the primary intended audience of, like preteens, very early teenagers, and instead of like, writing more for a book, about young people, intended for young people with like, young people's concerns and mindset, but ultimately all ages can enjoy it for different reasons. So I guess like it's just probably one of those reasons, or maybe this just is like one of her, not books that has not really stood the test of time so well. And like I really hated the mother. Oh, she was a total like cluster. What she's like, oh, I've decided my older daughter Helen is the brain, so she's destined for a highfalutin career someday as a doctor or a lawyer or something, and my younger daughter Deenie is beautiful, so oh, she must be a model, and I must like shoehorn the girls into these stereotypes no matter what and push them into these careers even though they don't really want to do these things. And later on in the book the mother says, I just wanted better for my girls than I had myself. Yeah, that I can understand like psychologically that can do things to people, but that doesn't mean you have to force them into being like certain careers you decided they have to be, like when they genuinely don't want that. And like Deenie doesn't seem like that much of a sympathetic character. I mean, I do feel like bad for how she had to all these medical issues, obviously, and like the humiliating experience of getting the brace, wearing these like 2 big body stockings. But other than that, she's basically like, her whole body is outlined in front of a bunch of male doctors and one female nurse. This was back in the day when like pretty much all doctors were men with some notable exceptions. So like a young, like vulnerable, like girl, like in 7th grade, who cares if she might feel like embarrassed or like feeling modesty, or doesn't want a male doctor to see her in her underwear or practically naked in a body stocking. Oh, that's just doctors are male. That's just what you have to put up with. I'm so glad we have like many more female doctors these days, particularly for like young and like vulnerable girls, and that you can actually like, choose. And male doctors now have like chaperones or actually ask, oh, can I do this, or would you prefer a female? So thankfully that has changed a lot. And I hated the home ec teachers. Because Deenie says, oh, I didn't get my fabric and materials because I was getting fitted for a Milwaukee brace. And the teacher says, I'm giving you a 0. I don't believe that's a valid excuse. If you turn in the material by Wednesday, I'll mark down the 0 and up it to a 50. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, getting a medical procedure is not a valid excuse for like neglecting to do like some homework. Like, seriously, what's wrong? And also the attitude towards, special ed kids is of its time. Oh, they're not as good as like kids in the mainstream schools, and Deenie doesn't want to ride the short bus to school. Like, why was that even a thing? A perfectly like able-bodied child would ride the special ed bus just because she's wearing a brace? Like, what? That just, again, that's totally of its time. And of course, a lot of the names in the book are of their time too. These characters would have been born in the like late 50s, early 60s. So these are, like definitely names you don't hear on girls of that age these days. Like, how many young girls are named Barbara or Janet these days? Nothing against those names or people who have them. It's just like they're definitely, of their time. They're not, like timeless names that could, picture on girls of, any generation or age. And again, like I was really annoyed by this. And book is like supposedly like written in like past tense because that's what most of it is, but it frequently flips back and forth between present and past tense, even in the same paragraph or sentence sometimes. I understand that's trying to get the message Deenie is telling the story later in her same 7th grade year instead of like far in future, just looking back on her youth. But that's just, so it's like saying, oh, I'm going to have cooking class next semester, or I always bring my lunch, or I do this, I do that, and oh, and I did this and I did that in the same sentence. So like I would love to know what like the first draft looked like and the editing process. Like, why would you keep flipping back and forth between like past and present tense? That's like I was extremely annoyed. It's just like my eyes started glazing over. And I understand Mrs. Blume was trying to, go for the authentic adolescent voice, the way they would actually talk, but I was cringing every time a sentence began me and name. Like, you wouldn't say me did this, or me couldn't stop laughing, or me always goes to the store after school. That's just like bad grammar. And it's like there's no real like plot. Oh, she gets a brace and she decides to wear it to a party instead of leaving it off, and oh, the boy she likes still wants to like maul at her and make out with her. Oh, isn't that good? So again, that's not really the kind of character I could have related to even when I was like a teenager. But I guess times have changed. Maybe it really was more like groundbreaking and like relevant to teenagers back in the day, or at least if they were like the upper middle class, like suburban type of like, yeah, effortlessly popular characters like are in so many of Judy Blume's books. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully I will have at least one more middle grade March wrap up video coming up in the next week or so. And please leave a comment. I love having conversations with these guys, and thanks for watching all the way to the end, and I will see you very soon. Thanks. Bye.